Well, after nearly 20 years of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitively, I'm stepping away from it. I am done being a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, at least for the foreseeable future. Feels really weird to try and do my intro after that. But hello, ladies and gentlemen, it is your host with the most, Avery LR32 here. I want y'all to smash that subscribe and like button so we can keep on climbing even higher, the 1600 ladder. And I say that because even though I'm quitting competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm still going to be making content. There's plenty of content that I want to make, and I want to get all that out of the way before I talk about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the reasons why I've quit the game. Because videos like this always explode, right? Like, I know that this video is at the very least going to get like 1,000 views, if not more. People are going to react to it probably and talk about it. For those of you who don't know, hi, I'm Avery LR32. I have a small little slice of pie here on YouTube. And I talk about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I talk about meta, and I talk about how well, I've talked about this in the past, but specifically with DDD, if you paid $25 for a spreadsheet, you wasted your money. But spreadsheets in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are a scam anyway. Besides the point, we're going to talk about all that more in this video. This video is going to be a bit long. You know better than I do at this point, but I want to really just take the time to sit back and talk about the reasons why I am stepping away from this game. So if you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate a like, and if you would subscribe, spread the word of this video. You know, I would love to get the community's reaction to this and kind of get their thoughts on this, because this isn't going to be just like another quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! Woe is me video. I feel like I have, as my light decides to flicker, I feel like I have a bit of a more nuanced take with this, because I'm one of the few people in the community who feels like Yu-Gi-Oh!'s prize support doesn't need to change in the sense of adding in cash prizing, and we're going to be talking about all that. So without any further ado, let's dive into the YouTube portion of this. First of all, shout out to the subscriber I met at the Kissimmee Regional that I was at this past Saturday. I don't know if I shouted him out in my deck profile from yesterday, but I want to shout him out here. It was really cool to meet a subscriber. I'm sorry if I didn't spend a lot of time talking to you. I had to take a piss like a mofo, so I felt bad. I'm sorry. Your boy had to take a leak. So it was really cool to meet a subscriber. Anyways, the YouTube content's going to continue, right? And I've been thinking back and forth about how I want to move forward with this channel. And I've sort of tested the waters with that, with like posting like Call of Duty Cypher stuff. Because I kind of do like some Cypher stuff like as like a little side hobby and whatever. And it's pretty enjoyable, right? Even though majority of the time I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I've sort of tested the waters with that. And I would really love to branch out and do like video game essays. Like, I want to do a video talking about like how Expedition 33 is one of the best and worst games I have ever played. I would love to do a video like that. I have some retrospectives in the works. I know I've brought this up like 10 times. I'm working on the TOS format retrospective video. I pretty much have to re-record the whole thing because it sat on my computer for months and I just never got around to editing the audio, which was literally all I needed to do. And I need to go back and re-record it and change up the script a little bit anyways. I'm also working on a frog retrospective because I realized that frogs have a long history of being competitive in the TCG. So I really want to talk about that. I need to get that recorded and get that edited. And all of that to say that I'm sure some people are going to roll their eyes or cringe at this, but I don't know how else to explain it. I want to turn this channel more into like a Boogie2988 channel, which before he became like a lolcal and like went off the deep end, I want to cover like a variety of things, whether it's gaming, whether it's card games. You know, like Boogie, he would occasionally cover Magic. So I feel like I would rather occasionally cover Yu-Gi-Oh! And then talk about other things in the mix, right? And if I decide that I want to be competitive with Yu-Gi-Oh!, then I'll post more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. And of course, I'm going to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! If, you know, new support for an archetype or whatever drops that I really want to talk about, right? You know, if they, you know, reveal darts cards from the Orichalcos section of the anime and the original Duel Monsters, I'm going to talk about Darts' cards. If they drop Valen's armor cards, I'm going to talk about Valen's armor cards. You know, I'm going to do all of that stuff, right? When it comes to market watches and tier lists and tech cards, I really don't see myself doing that for the foreseeable future because I'm just so burnt out on the fucking meta. And it's something I'm so sick of. And feel free to hold my feet to the fire, but this is one of the worst formats of all time that I have ever played in. And I've been playing since basically Tell the Dad format. Been playing since like 2008, 2009. My first locals, I tell this story all the time, but this is when I feel like I first started my competitive journey into Yu-Gi-Oh! My first locals was 2 weeks before the name of the fusion deck got changed to the extra deck. So whatever that date was, I went to my first locals, and then 2 weeks later, I kept going to locals every week, but then 2 weeks later, they changed the name of the fusion deck to the extra deck, and we were in deep with synchros. You know, I'll never forget my buddy Charlie. Shout out to you, Charlie, if you somehow happen to see this video. I remember him at the old location for Dan Sports Cards and Games. Shout out to Dan. And I remember him standing there saying, listen, guys, the name of the fusion deck has now been changed to the extra deck. I don't want to hear y'all calling it the fusion deck. It is now called your extra deck. And from that point on, it was the extra deck. It was no longer the fusion deck. So the content's going to continue, right? And if that's something that you want to be here for, I really appreciate it. If not, I understand, right? Because you want to be here for the competitiveness of the game. You want to be here to get better, and I want to make you a better player. You know, I have almost 20 years of experience, 17 to be exact, but almost 20 years of experience. I feel like even if I'm not playing competitively 24/7, 365, I can still offer something in terms of history. You know, if a format comes around that's, say, similar to Hat format, I can say, oh, hey, this format's similar to Hat format, so you're going to want to play, say, more of a control aspect. What I'm not going to do is turn into a fucking word salad and not know what I'm talking about. Like a certain other YouTuber that's been around for quite some time, who is cool. I'm friends with him. But Robbie Cole, I can't listen to you anymore because you sound like fucking word salad. And I'm sorry, you don't know what you're talking about anymore. It's time to throw in the towel, Robbie. I love you to death. I get that this is your business, but you just don't know. You don't got it no more. It's time to hang your hat up. Now, with all that being said, why am I getting out of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh? I've mentioned this a little bit before in other videos, and my friend Valley D that I've talked about on the channel many, many times, shout out to my homie Derek, he quit the game, right? And this was 2 years in the making of him being not only a great friend, but also my coach, a mentor, someone that I could bounce ideas off of and get better at the game. And really, I feel like it started around like Power of the Elements format when that set dropped, that we, you know, relinked up because I just happened to be doing a live stream on YouTube, opening up a case of Power of the Elements. I think it was in that live stream. But either way, we ended up reconnecting. We caught up. It had been like a decade or something. Actually, it had been like a few years because I saw him at a regional in Kissimmee during at the end of Zodiac format where I got 18th place with Trickstar. Shameless plug. It was a pure build. I used Team Samurai's build. But anyway, besides the point. We caught up there for a little bit, and then I didn't see him again for several years, right? And it came at a time where I wouldn't say I was down bad, but I was really in a difficult place in life, right? At Power of the Elements format, I had been fired from my first ever full-time job, and I was sabotaged out of what I thought was my dream job. You know, there were mistakes that I made, but then there were mistakes that I didn't make, and I ended up being sabotaged out of that job. I ended up being fired, and it was right around that time. I was 25 years old at the time. I ended up starting the oncology medication, which for those of you who don't know means like a cancer drug. I started my cancer drug known as Wellereg. And so I was posting videos a lot more often here on YouTube because I didn't have a job. I was on unemployment. And I was trying to get used to this new medication that was really throwing my body out of whack because like I was always tired. I've started losing my hair after being on it for almost 4 years because that's what a cancer drug does to you. For those of you who don't know, I was diagnosed with a very rare type of cancer back when I was 22 years old. I'm 28 now. Called VHL, which stands for von Hippel-Lindau disease. I've written a book about it that you could purchase on Amazon. I always have the link in the description, shameless plug. But I say all this because of the fact that he came back into my life as a friend at a point where I really needed good friends in my family more than ever, right? I lost what I thought was my dream job. I was sabotaged out. I had a massive target on my back. I haven't been able to find a job in my career field since, which I majored in communications. So, like radio and television production, I was working at a TV station when I got fired. I was sabotaged out. It was totally wrong. I thought about taking them to court, but then that would really blacklist me out of the industry more than I am right now. And it's just impossible to find a job at this point, right? And so I was on unemployment because in the state of Florida, if you get fired for poor performance, you can get unemployment. So I was on that. I was getting used to this medication. Life was okay. I was doing YouTube as like a side hustle to try and make something of a career out of it because it would be really cool to do this as a career. And let's be honest, at 1,600 subscribers, that never took off. You know, after I ended up quitting a radio station job that I was only at for a month because they pulled the rug out from under me there too, I said, hey, I'm going to make YouTube my full-time thing. I had less subscribers than I do now. You can't make a career out of YouTube with 1,600 subscribers. It just doesn't fucking happen. There's too many people in the world now that are on YouTube, on TikTok, on Twitch, on whatever, that even if you want to start a podcast like I tried to do on a second channel, it just didn't work, right? Because there's so many people trying to get the slice of that pie that it's just fucking impossible, right? And I say all this to wrap it back to Yugioh because of the fact that my friend Derek quitting the game jump-started a bug in me that I have not been able to shake because of what we've been through together. You know, we traveled to Indianapolis together. We made these great memories. We had so much fun. It's thanks to him, the practicing and play testing and theory crafting we did, that I ended up being able to add to my Yu-Gi-Oh resume, as stupid of a term as that is to use. I made day 2 of a YCS. Now, I'm sure some people are going to be like, well, Avery, you know, you said yourself, round 1, you got to buy because people showed up late and then like 500 people got dropped from the event. And then your opponent, the first round of day 2, round 10, he showed up late at 35 minutes and 1 second. There was no way he was going to be able to have all of his stuff ready to go in half a second. You know, you had 2 free wins technically. And yeah, I did. But the amount of skill I had at that point, which would have been really at the beginning of last format when Rizal and Malice were the best decks and they were at full power, I feel like since then I've regressed as a player because I don't have those teachings. I don't have that mentorship. I still have the friendship, but my friend is married. You know, he wants to have a family, he wants to have a kid, he's got bills to pay, he's got this house, he's got his job, he's got whatever. He's got all these things, and I'm over here, 28, single, trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And fuck, I'm tired of this community. I'm tired of, like, I know that this might sound kind of weird, but like I'm tired of going to an event and seeing people fucking cosplay as like Hatsune Miku or Dia Bellstar the Black Witch or trolling and dressing up. Well, maybe they're not trolling, but like dressing up like a girl, which I feel like is fine. Like you do you, boo-boo. But like some people do that to troll, which I think is just kind of weird. And I remember years ago I saw a dude dressed up in a Hello Kitty costume, and even my friend asked him, why are you doing that? He's like, to troll. And my friend was like, but you're a man, like man up. Like I've seen a lot of weird ass shit over the years at regionals and stuff, right? But I'm tired of being a part of this. I'm tired of the toxicity. I'm literally, if you saw my deck profile from yesterday, you would know that I talked about how there was a good amount of players arguing over shit. And to me, that just describes that this format is a bad format. You know, I said this in a deck profile I did, or it may have just been a discussion video, I don't remember. But I talked about how I saw a deck list playing Lullaby of Obedience. And I was like, well, you know it's a bad format then, because of Lullaby of Obedience and the spell card exchange by extension. If they're ever seeing play or if they're ever good, then you know it's a bad format because everybody's playing the same fucking cards. And so players are arguing, players are being salty, players are trying to rule shark. Oh, a player at the regional on Saturday tried to rule shark my dad and said he was attempting to enter battle phase. My dad goes, oh, when you attempt to enter battle phase, I'm activate Dogmatic punishment. He was playing stun because of course he does. And the guy's like, oh, well, you have to declare whenever I'm attempting to end main phase or I'm actually in battle phase. So which one do you do? And then he tried to rule shark my dad because he was playing Fire King. So he linked off Ponix into Anima. My dad goes on summon, activate strike, and he goes, oh, you can't because it's an inherent summon. And like the dude was just a fucking idiot, and he was trying to shark my dad. And I'm so sick of that, man. Like I really am. Like players being salty, these fat ass Yu-Gi-Oh players with their butt cracks hanging out in these half ass broken chairs. having to do well at a card game because they live in their mom's basement. I'm tired of the toxic side of this community, man. Like, I've told stories before as I drink a glass of wine, which this wine's actually really good. I don't know what it's called, but it's got like a sweet, bitter taste to it. I'm not a big wine drinker, but today I'm a wine drinker. Also, happy Memorial Day to all y'all that are having Memorial Day celebrations. Thank you to all those who serve in our armed forces. But I'm really tired of that toxic side. And I've told this story before, but I want to reiterate it. The community, at least in my local part of town here in Jacksonville, Florida, I feel like has gotten better overall. I've told the story before about how years ago there was a guy allegedly, which my friend told me this secondhand, but I'm very inclined to believe my friend. He told me that this guy who was like a local player in Jacksonville told this like 13-year-old kid that he was a homophobic slur, use your imagination, and that he sucked at Yu-Gi-Oh! The 13-year-old kid went home crying to his parents and he never came back. Yeah, because that's the community I want to be a part of. And the dude that called him the homophobic slur was gay himself. So it's like, are you compensating for something because you're ashamed of yourself? Or are you just like, making fun of little kids and calling them a homophobic slur that begins with an F? I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get demonetized. And that they suck at Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, come on, man. Like, seriously, it was years ago, but that's something that's always stuck out in my mind as like, there are some Yu-Gi-Oh! Players in this world that are like that because they don't have the, I guess, mental fortitude to be a decent human being, right? And I'm tired of having to spend a bunch of money. I get that it's a hobby, and we're going to talk about that, but I'm tired of spending so much money on this game just to fail. And I'm sure some people are going to say, oh, well, it's just get good. Oh, you need to play test more. You need to do this. Guys, I fucking playtest for hours. If EDO Pro actually had like stats that you could keep track of, I would have at least 5,000 games, if not more, on EDO Pro. And half of them would probably be rage quits because most of the fucking morons on there don't read my dual note of, hey, testing meta only post-alliance insight. And I'm sure I'm sounding toxic there, but like, use your eyes. Just read the dual note that I'm testing meta only, and then I get some loser with Runic coming into the room. And yeah, it's the pot calling the kettle black. I don't mind, anti-meta players, but when I'm really trying to playtest against meta because I'm a one-man band, yeah, I'm going to be a little bit frustrated when you come into my duel room and you're playing like Runic Stun. And I'm sure some people are going to say, Avery, what do you mean by you're a one-man band? You've got your dad. My dad plays Burn. My dad plays Stun. My dad played fucking Mystic Mind for the 4 years that it was legal, or however long it was legal. He doesn't play meta. He is not going to sit at our dinner table where we play test or like even come on DB with me and make Mitsurugi Rizal, and we're going to play test all of the optimal lines of Mitsurugi Rizal, figuring out the choke points and the best way to beat the deck. Because he doesn't understand those decks. It's going to be difficult for him to learn. It's difficult for him to learn how to play Millennium Exodia, right? He thinks that Eldritch is too combo heavy. He thinks Runic is too slow and too combo heavy. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? And so this isn't a knock on him. He's aware of it. I've told him this. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I'd never be able to learn that shit. And so to him, the game died after Mystic Mind really got banned, which, if you liked Mystic Mind, it's because you hate how the game is turned into anyway, but that's a whole nother discussion for another video. But he really, he was kind of competitive with Mystic Mind Burn, and then once that card got banned, he's like, well, I'm out of the game again. And he plays because, that's the memories we make together. That's something that can never be taken away. He's the OG Jeff Leonard. He was Jeff Leonard before Jeff Leonard was Jeff Leonard. My dad made day 2 of YCS Miami back in 2012 when Water and Windups were the best deck. He made day 2 with Chainburn when One Day of Peace was at 3. So go figure, right? So he's had his times to shine, and now I've had my times to shine. But if I had to roll up with Mitsurugi Rizal, which I feel like I wouldn't even be able to learn, even though apparently it's a mid-range deck, and I'm a mid-range player, which I don't fucking agree with that it's a mid-range deck, but besides the point, I don't feel like I could roll up to a YCS tomorrow playing the best deck and make day 2 again. I just don't. And that's because of the fact that my coach is gone. My mentor is gone. And I don't have anyone in this game. And that was something I've talked about in my Everyone is Quitting Yu-Gi-Oh video where I said, hey, I'm the last of the Mohicans. All of my friends that I made and met when I first started playing when I was 12 years old, I'm 28 now, going on 29, so it's been 17 years about playing the game competitively, they're all gone. Or they're playing Edison format, or they're playing some other retro format, or they're playing Magic, they're playing whatever. And I'm like, it's hard to stay in the game when you don't have any friends. You don't have anybody you know. Imagine walking into like a house party expecting to see all your friends and all your friends are gone. And you're talking to people that you barely know. Like you're mutual friends with them, but you don't really know them. Are you really going to be at that party for long? And the answer is probably no. You know, I'm sure some people say, well, I can make new friends. Good for you, Sugar Boo Bear, but you're not going to have the same memories that you had back in the day. You're not going to be in the same point in your life. You're not going to be able to have those same joys, the same laughs, the same stories, the same whatever. And the price of the game has never really been so much of an issue for me, because to me it's like you have usually, ideally, other decks to choose from where you can kind of decrease the amount that you have to spend, right? And when I'm looking at like product and things to invest in, I want to usually have a fairly early idea of what deck I want to play. And that's where we move into Justice Hunters. Looking at Justice Hunters, I could give a rat's ass about any of the stuff. K9 looks way too combo heavy. To me, it looks just fucking stupid. I don't want to play K9. Yummy, as stupid as that name is, just looks like Tenpai 2.0 with how small of a in-archetype engine it is and how many room it has for hand traps. And it's also super combo heavy. I'm not going to be able to play that. And then there's Dragon Tail, which is just branded 2.0, which is very combo heavy. I'm not going to be able to play that as a mid-range player. Again, some people are going to say, oh, you just need to get good. Guys, go watch my deck profile when I try to play fucking Tier Element when I thought I could play that deck at a regional, and I got absolutely stomped, and I got cheated. But besides the point, yeah, I'm not a combo player. And that's something that's different for every Yu-Gi-Oh player, right? You know, you stay in the lane that you're best in this case being mid-range. You play the best mid-range deck you can, and you do your best to optimize that deck list to where it's best for you. Whether that's playing a tech card, whether that's cutting something that everyone's preparing for, whatever the case may be, right? So now I feel like that covers the product aspect. And now I think that we can move into like the prize support. I've said this before about how Yu-Gi-Oh's product prize support, doesn't need to change. But could you imagine, with all the toxicity I've talked about in Yu-Gi-Oh, could you imagine having cash prizing? Think of that shit. Imagine that you are X2, your opponent's X2. You need one more win to get into that top whatever, 64, 48, whatever, and there's $1,000 on the line. You win this match, you are guaranteed $1,000. Think of how much rule sharking, think of how much slow playing that your opponent is going to do because there's potentially 1,000 big ones on the line. I don't want that stress. I don't want nothing to do with that. If you got to slow play and shark me and cheat to win possibly $1,000, I want no part of that. That's way too much stress. People say they want cash prizing all the goddamn time. And then you look at how toxic the Yu-Gi-Oh community is. You look at all these assholes in the game who you just want to watch get hit by an ice cream truck because they're so overweight. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I want no part of that. And I'm so sick and tired of people saying that we need cash prizing in the game when we don't. There's other prizing that clearly Konami can do besides giving us fucking air fryers that none of these fat-ass players are going to use. That you can give us other stuff, whether it's alternate arts, whether it's full card arts, whether it's a YCS logo on a card. As stupid as that is, it's something new. When I made day 2 of Orlando, had they had this new prize support in place, I would have got my own prize card. That would have been really cool. I would have felt even more rewarded for making day 2, besides being able to put it on my resume. Last but not least, I want to move into something that I thought about making a video on, but instead I want to just put in this video here. The amount of what I'm going to call advertising and shilling in this community, especially on YouTube, has gotten way too much, and it's absolutely disgusting. Triff says he retired, but then he wants to charge you $50 a month for masterclasses and spreadsheets and all this other shit when the game is as expensive as it is, and then you have some jerk off who wants to charge you $50 a month for crap that he's not even going to be honest about, which leads me into the spreadsheets. Do you really think that these dickholes are going to be charging you anywhere as low as $25, if not $100 or more for a bullshit spreadsheet and actually have every combo possible that you can do for, say, example, Mitsurugi Rizal, that they're going to have every single combo in there and keep in the combos that they have figured out that the rest of the community is not aware of? Do you really think that they're going to do that? Do you really think that they're not going to rip you off? That is disgusting to me. And I'll give you an example. Because, of course, he made it famous because I didn't have a big enough audience, even though I'm the one that talked about it first. But regardless, Lucas Sacco at YCS Orlando, I went up and talked to him. And he's a nice guy. I'm not trying to flack on him, but I'm just giving an example. There was a combo that I had come up with in Fiendsmith Rizal that I didn't know that Lucas Sacco knew about, but he's a pro player. So, of course, all the pro players are going to know about it and not tell you about it because they don't give a shit about you. It was a combo where in Fiendsmith Rizal, if you had, say, like Ice Rizal and like Fiendsmith combo, you would start off with Fiendsmith combo. And I talked about this in my deck profile for Fiendsmith Rizal after the YCS. But you did full Fiendsmith combo. When you got to the point of using Requiem to summon Lacrima, you didn't go for the wave hiking at that point. You could summon Ice Rizal for your normal summon, activate its effect to summon X Rizal, use X Rizal's effect to get to Sword. You've now conducted 5 summons that turn. You can then overlay both of your Rizals into Duo Drive. The opponent at that point has to nib you or use some kind of negation on the Duo Drive, or else you're pretty much going to win the game because Duo Drive going off pretty much just means you won the game. So this combo I came up with because it essentially insulated you from Nibiru, because if the opponent Nibiru'd you on the effect of Duo Drive, you still had your Engraver in the graveyard that you could use, and you still had the Necroquip in your extra deck. So you could send back a Light Fiend, summon the Engraver, link off with the Nibiru token, and you could just pivot into Disarray. You force the opponent to use the Nibiru before having Necroquip and Engraver out, so then you were just able to keep playing, right? And it also gave you a way to use your X Rizal before having Wave High King up, because obviously you can't search off of X Rizal because you do have a rank 6 Wave High King. I told Lucas Sacco about that play. He goes, "Oh yeah, I've been using that play all day." I'm like, "Oh, okay, nice to meet you, whatever." He already knew about that play, and he didn't post a single fucking video talking about that combo. Nothing on Twitter, nothing anywhere. It was as if the combo didn't exist until someone like me figured it out, and I talked about the combo. Of course, the video didn't get as many views as Lucas Sacco doing much better than I did, talking about the combo, and then everyone realized that the combo existed. You really want to believe that some jerk on the internet, especially in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, is going to post a spreadsheet with combos like that in there? They're not going to. And it's absolutely disgusting. And anyone that blows their money on a spreadsheet and has the balls, the steel cojones, to talk about how expensive the game is, I want you to just type LOL in the comments section. Because they're the ones that are blowing money on a spreadsheet and then want to go and complain about the price of the game when they're the ones wasting their money in the first place. It's gotten way too commercialized on YouTube. I feel like I'm one of the many, I can't even say many few because that's an oxymoron, but the very few that are left that are just honest about it, that will tell you if something's dog shit or not. You have so many people out here who even try to be Yu-Gi tubers and say that they're competitive when they don't know what they're doing. Do you think Team Samurai is a good player? Think about that for a second. Is he actually a good player? No, he's not. He's a content creator, and he shows up to these 3v3s with Pac, who bitches whenever he loses, and any other pro player. And then if Pac finishes his match in a 3v3 before Sam does, Pac just starts coaching Sam on what cards to play. He's not a player. He's a content creator. That's all he's ever been. And good for him. He's got over 1 million subs. He's making good money. But if you actually want to get better at the game, you're watching people like me. You're watching Joshua Schmidt. You're watching DB Grinder, as toxic or as an asshole as some people think he is, which I feel like that's just his personality. But that just that leans in more towards the Yu-Gi-Oh community just being kind of cringe and toxic. It's not something I really feel like I want to be a part of anymore as my fat ass sips this wine. Although there's not a lot of carbs or calories in it, so I guess I'm okay. But maybe at some point in the future, I come back to the game and I want to be competitive. But as it stands now, I can't think of a reason to keep going. All my friends are gone. My best friend, who I was constantly testing with, is gone. I feel like I'm regressing as a player, and I'm tired of being bad. I'm tired of people talking shit about me behind my back because I'm bad at the game, allegedly. It's called playtesting for a fucking reason, you idiot. And to make fun of someone for being bad at the game, or to just talk shit because they're not as good as you at a children's card game out of cardboard playing for a rubber mat, I'm just tired of it. And I'm ready for a break. I'm ready to make other content. I'm ready to just build a community. I'm ready to, once I hit 2,000 subscribers, shameless plug, make a Discord and hang out with my audience, hang out with my fans, and just enjoy the time that I have left. I've never cared about the crap prize support. I've played for the love of the game. And I still love the game. I just love it in different ways now. I don't really want to be competitive right now for all these reasons. And I think that's very different from why many other people quit the game. Because if you're quitting the game because of the prize support, then Yu-Gi-Oh quit you. And I like to think that I'm one of the very few players who Yu-Gi-Oh didn't quit me. People always say, you don't quit Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh quits you. No, I am quitting the game. But Yu-Gi-Oh hasn't quit me because I still like the game. I'm quitting the game for me, not because Yu-Gi-Oh quit me. And that feels great to know that Yu-Gi-Oh just hasn't moved on to where I'm tired of it. Because I do enjoy it. But not all the other baggage that comes with it. Guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much. And I'll speak with you again very, very soon.